Welcome to the channel, guys. My name is Jess. So Bitcoin has just had a really crucial weekly candle close, and while these macro charts are printing some pretty big warning signs, we need to go into the short time frame to dive into what exactly is going to trigger the next move downwards, and otherwise what supports are currently holding and should continue to hold for Bitcoin to stage a reversal. This is some really important price action. Let's get into it. As always, before we jump in, make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to get regular Bitcoin analysis every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and sign up to my free Telegram for more regular Bitcoin updates. If you're a trader and you're interested in joining my VIP trading channel, be sure to message me down below on Telegram to get more details. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trading setups with exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. Alrighty guys, so diving right into the charts, let's talk about this most recent weekly candle close that we've just had and why it was so important, and also why it is looking a little bit bearish. So taking a look here, what we're really watching is these red lines over here, mapping out our prior levels of support. So we had support here at our weekly range, with the high being 119,000, the close, as well as the low being down here at 114K. Now we lost that level quite some time ago, 2-3 weeks ago, and with the loss of that level of support, we went on to test sell side liquidity, this break of structure at $112,000 right here. Again, losing that in this weekly candle close. Most recently, we went on to test this next weekly range high right there, and just below it, this liquidity zone, this large liquidity zone mapped out by the Smart Money Concepts indicator on the weekly chart. Now that zone starts at $108.3 thousand and goes all the way down to 100K. So it's huge, right? And naturally, the prevention of entering that zone would have been a massive deal moving into this weekly candle close. Now, if we take a look at the close itself, we can see that Bitcoin ended up moving right into that liquidity zone there, right into that support. And we had the weekly close at around 108,200. Now, this means that on this weekly chart here, things aren't looking the best, right? We have a potential here, if triggered by the loss of supports on the smaller time frames, such as the 3-day and the daily chart, have a potential to move into this liquidity zone and all the way to the base there at 100K. Now keep in mind also this dotted red trend line mapping out the next 2-3 weeks of price action and the dates of which we have the next federal interest rate meeting, or the candle close right before we have that next federal interest rate meeting. Right, so this means that we have potentially some really bullish news on the horizon, with the first rate cut we've seen potentially since September 2024. But until then, it really is a question of how much lower can Bitcoin go? Will we see another leg downwards in this correction? Or otherwise, as we move closer and closer towards that date, are we going to see continued sort of sideways chop and consolidation moving into that first interest rate meeting in September, the first potentially bullish interest rate meeting in September, and what the price action is expected to do until then? So let's start off our analysis. We're zooming into the 3-day chart here, still a relatively high time frame, but we can start to map out other levels of support that we have here on those higher time frames, aside from, what we're seeing on the weekly chart. Now on the 3-day chart, I talked about this in multiple videos over the last couple of weeks, because it really has been creeping up on us as this really crucial level of support. And what I'm talking about here is the 50 EMA here on the 3-day chart, as well as the Gaussian channel. Now in my last video, we were really tapping at the top of that Gaussian channel there, and we had in that weekly candle close, as well as this most recent 3-day candle close, a really sort of high chance, or at least a concerning sort of outlook at the possibility of looking at moving into the Gaussian channel. Now this is where things get quite interesting, because if we take a look and we zoom in, we closed both above the Gaussian channel as well as the 50 EMA here on the 3-day chart, thereby respecting all the levels of support that we have here on this slightly higher time frame chart. Now that is crucial because, as I talked about in my last video, in prior instances where on the daily time frame we had bearish divergence, generally on the 3-day chart, we'd go down into the Gaussian channel there after losing support on the daily chart. So over here we had sell side liquidity. Falling below sell side liquidity, we popped right into that Gaussian channel below the 50 EMA towards the base of the Gaussian channel at $78,000. And same thing over here, right? Losing support over here. We fell into the Gaussian channel, rejected off the top of it right there in this green candle, and we saw a correction ultimately again at some point to the base of the channel at $56,000. So sort of these really big warning signs that were printing prior to this most recent 3-day candle close. And we can see here with that most recent close, we've actually thus far, I mean, the price action has a chance to develop, and we'll talk about the daily time frame in a moment, has thus far actually managed to hold that level as a base of support, preventing the bearish continuation, first of all, to the midline at 100,000 and the base at 92K, right? The 100,000 was also the same level that we had in that large liquidity zone on the weekly chart as well. So what all this means is that while on the weekly chart we've had quite a bearish weekly candle close, no doubt about that, the smaller timeframes are showing us that we're still technically at support. And while Bitcoin holds those levels of support, there is always a potential to stage a reversal, or at the very least chop sideways until that federal interest rate meeting, where if it is as bullish as people are expecting, or as bullish as they're hinting at, we could start to see a really aggressive reversal from Bitcoin. So with that in mind, in that sort of potential bottom scenario that we're experiencing here from Bitcoin at these sort of really important levels of support, let's zoom into the daily chart and talk about the key levels that we're watching here and what could otherwise, sort of trigger a bearish continuation or the start of the reversal instead. So here on the daily time frame, we're looking at sort of these four key levels right here. Right now on the daily chart, this is the level of support that we're sitting at. It is $107.3 thousand. You can also map it out using a box. Previously on Smart Money Concepts, there was a liquidity zone here that has since disappeared. So we're really just watching for this sell side liquidity at that prior low right there. If Bitcoin ends up closing below that, we can see very clearly just below we have a dip in the volume profile, suggesting it would be a pretty rapid drop down into this next low here, and also the end of that volume profile at $105,000. So there is a potential here that we see a little bit of a liquidity grab low to 105 and potentially to even tap the 200 EMA if this daily chart level here at 107.3 thousand is lost. That's the main thing we're watching at in terms of the next short time frame leg downwards. And of course, in that situation, we're then looking at that next 3-day candle close, whether or not in that next period it closes within the Gaussian channel as well as below the 50 EMA, and then a movement into that larger liquidity zone on the weekly chart, ending at $100,000, right? Thereby sort of also following out the measured move of this breakdown as well, taking us again right down to that 100K level. So that's the bearish situation that we're watching out for here on the daily chart. And otherwise, in terms of a reversal on the daily chart here, as I said in my last video, guys, we're looking for an invalidation of the breakdown of this structure right here. If Bitcoin is able to close back above 112 and sustain that movement, so on the short time frame as well, we saw a lot of weakness there on the hourly charts. We don't want that moving into the next movement into 112. And if we're able to do that, we're looking at clearance of those prior highs, right? So 113.4 thousand. 117.6, and then pushing back above 118 here. 118 here, moving into this liquidity zone back up to test those range high resistances. Zooming into the 4-hour chart, we can see the current short time frame range of consolidation here is starting at our range low, of course, at 107.3, and our first resistance here is at $109.5 thousand. We can see multiple retests of that currently as a level of resistance, and this is also what triggered that sort of initial really aggressive bearish move down to 107.3 in the first place. Just above that, we've got the 50 MA, and then again we're re-entering in that 112 range of resistance, and we want to push above $113.4 thousand. That is going to signal a strong reversal, and on the short time frame and daily chart that we're printing higher highs for the first time since the all-time high here at 124,000. Until then, all there really is to know is that Bitcoin is currently at support. We have a potential here to see a little bit of a bottom and sideways chop, or more sideways chop, until either of those scenarios happen. Either we trigger a short time frame move upwards above that first level of resistance there mapped out on the 4-hour chart, and then into 112, and we're watching for that reaction there here on the daily time frame to mark an actual reversal, or otherwise a potential correction if we fall below support at 107.3, the sell side liquidity, and into 105, and potentially a higher time frame correction depending on what happens on the 3-day chart. Alrighty guys, that is a wrap on today's analysis. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. If you enjoyed it or you learned something, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to get regular Bitcoin analysis every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And sign up to my free Telegram for more regular Bitcoin updates. If you're a trader and you're interested in joining my VIP trading channel, be sure to message me down below on Telegram. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trading setups with exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. And sign up down below to beat you next to get 15% off your trading fees as well. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.